What's going on, guys? It's Death Monkey here. Today we're going to be talking about something rather interesting. Not necessarily video games wise, but something I enjoy doing during my spare time when I get to that. But basically, for those who don't know, I have a very big interest in genealogy, or the study of family trees. So basically what I did recently was I ordered a DNA kit to find out exactly where in the world my ancestors have come from. And doing my family tree has, I've been doing that for over the last 10 years, but there's like certain areas of my family that I'm not quite sure about. I'm just trying to get more information on that. So basically, as you guys can see, I got a Ancestry DNA activation kit. Now I managed to receive that back on the 12th of August, and this contained these rather interesting items. So basically what this involved was like a packet which has the it's got the radioactive symbol on it, so basically it's like got people's DNA within it, so if that makes sense. But basically what you do is when you do receive this, you actually are asked to activate the kit by using like a little serial number, I guess that's on it. But it is quite a simple procedure actually. So basically all you do is you fill this little tube right here with your saliva, and once you've filled the saliva up to that black line, as you guys can see it right there, then you pop this little capsule in, which has like some sort of chemical within it that apparently mixes in with the saliva that allows the people who deal with like extracting the DNA to actually carry this out. I don't know how, so don't ask me on that, but that's really interesting. But basically once you do this, so you go onto the Ancestry website, you go onto like the activation page, you type in whatever serial number is actually labelled on this print right here. Once you type it in, that'll link to your account, and once you've done this, seal it off, post it to whatever the address is. I think for me that was like one in Ireland somewhere, and there is like a little waiting period. Now earlier on today I did actually manage to receive this, so I went onto the Ancestry website. I basically doing doing the process there. Now once I click on details, I'm going to find out exactly where all my ancestors have come from here. So as you guys can see, I got 53% Scottish ethnicity, with 22% England and Northwestern Europe, plus 4 other regions. So we're going to take a look into this a little bit more in depth here. So as you guys can see, most of my ancestors come from like Ireland, Scotland, parts of England, Wales, southeast England as well, in the Norfolk area. I've got ancestors from like a mid-European area, so I've got like Netherlands, Germany, what appears to be part of Austria as well. So that's really interesting there, as well as Sweden and Denmark. So that's really interesting there, guys. So it looks like my DNA has been inherited from both parents. Now parent 1 being my father, parent 2 being my mother, so that's really interesting there. So we're going to take a look into this here, and we're going to see how these compare. So as you guys can currently see on screen, you can actually highlight these and see where each one has come from. So 23% has come from my dad, 30% has come from my mum, so that's really interesting there. That's of Scotland. England, Northwestern Europe, 19% has come from my dad. I'm not sure how this works out, but 3% has come from my mum. Again, I'm not sure where that's come from either. Wales, now this makes perfect sense. As far as I understand it, my maternal grandfather was Welsh, or came from Wales, because that's where his parents came from. So that would make sense. Now, Germany, or Germanic Europe, I don't think there's no one immediate in my family that I can immediately think of that actually comes from Germany, but or anywhere within that part of Europe, but that's really interesting. Again with Sweden and Denmark, I'm not 100% sure where that comes from in the family, but that's really interesting there. Apparently shows on both sides very minorly there, and 3% come from my mum's side of the family from Ireland. So that's really interesting. So I'm just going to take a look at England and Northwestern Europe. You can see on these charts here how these differ between each one here. Wales, Germanic Europe, Sweden and Ireland. So that's really interesting. Very interesting. See if I can look into this a little bit more. Now, of course everybody is different here, guys, so that's really interesting there. DNA, let's have a look here. Just going to quickly go back to the DNA summary. Now, there's tons upon tons of people online who, if you find out that if they also have an account but don't have any family trees linked to them, it basically mentions all of the matches that it's managed to find. So for me, it's found 242 other people online. So that's really interesting there. Through lines users ancestry trees suggest how you may relate to DNA matches through common ancestors. So that's really interesting there. DNA surveys, I've managed to get partway through that, but during the time that I've managed to actually receive this DNA results. So it's just basically questions about how you eat, what your face looks like, and things like that. So that's really interesting. See if I explore what through lines exactly is. So that's really interesting. Through lines makes it easier than ever to make new discoveries, whether it's finding out through ancestors connected to your DNA matches or analysing how well your DNA match relationships line up with what you know about your family's history. So as you guys can see, using a public or private searchable tree linked to your ancestry DNA test, we search people who appear both your tree or ancestry member trees that are marked as public or private searchable. Through lines uses this information to illustrate how you and your DNA matches might be related through common ancestors. Through lines may also suggest potential ancestors. They will appear with a dashed outline around their names. They are people who are not in your family tree but appear in the trees of other ancestry members who may share a common ancestor with you. That's really interesting there, guys. Ooh, I was curious to know what CM meant. Centimorgans, apparently. Now, I'm going to have to do some research on exactly what centimorgans are, but that looks really interesting there. Okay, so let's close that down. So, this is where I'm currently at from a perspective of like who's in my family, who do I know about. There's a few, as you guys can see down towards the bottom here. None of these guys that I know of are actually in my family that I know of, but the potential ancestors doesn't mean it's necessarily true. It could potentially make a suggestion that they do have some sort of relationship with me that I may not know about. So that's really interesting there, guys. Let me know what you guys' views and thoughts of that. Just going to quickly go through this. Traits. Let's have a look at this. So, anyone wonders where your freckles come from? Why you hate cilantro? Let's have a look. I'm curious about this one. DNA chromosomes. Of course, everyone knows it's made into 23 pairs. All genes are pieces of DNA within each chromosome that have the instructions of family traits. Okay, so it's basically one inheritance. So basically, every gene has one inherited from each parent. So specific places in your DNA are called markers. A genotype is in the DNA. Scientists have found that some markers are associated with specific traits like red hair. As a certain marker, your genotype, a combination of two letters like AA, is what helps us determine whether you're likely to have red hair or not. If you have phenotype, or genes and environment, your genotype is what your genes say. Your phenotype is what you actually have. Okay, sometimes what you see in the mirror is different from what your genotype-based trait result. Because traits are often influenced by many genes, other factors like the environment can also come into play. Everyone inherits half their DNA from one parent and half from the other. That's why traits tend to run in families. You got half of your DNA from each of your parents. Who got half of theirs from each of their parents, and so on. But the particular mix of DNA you inherit is unique to you. So let's have a look. So, a picky eater. Actually, I am a bit of a picky eater, if I'm honest with you here, guys. So that's really interesting. Alcohol flush. Fish does not flush. I want to say I don't drink alcohol as much here, guys, so that's really interesting. Asparagus odor. unable to spell asparagus metabolites. Now, I actually do hate asparagus. That's really interesting there. Beta carotene average levels normal. That's fair enough. Birth weight below average. Well, I was £7.8 at birth, so I wouldn't say I was below average, but that's really interesting. Bitter sensitivity, unable to taste a certain bitter flavour. I can't really taste much bitterness, but that's really interesting. Caffeine intake, like to drink a lot less caffeine than average. Actually, can I change that? Whoops. I'm going to probably go back on that. So that's really interesting there, but something to take note of. Cleft chin, likely to have a cleft chin, more likely. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I've got a cleft chin. I do have earlobes. That's really interesting. Wet earwax. I think I do. I'll have to double check on that. Earwax type, wet earwax, as you guys see. Eye colour, light eyes. Now, I'll have to get you guys to take an opinion on this. Do I have green eyes? Or they say they're like light or black or dark? Let me know in the comments box down below. Facial hair fullness. Change for patchier facial hair. Now, I wouldn't say it was patchy. Mine goes fairly quickly. I wouldn't say it was patchy, but I do prefer mine to be stubbled, if that makes sense. Freckles. I've got very few freckles that I know of. Fresh coriander aversion. Unlikely to enjoy calendula. I don't actually mind it, to be honest with you, but that's really interesting. Hair colour, light hair. Now, mine's like on the verge of like a very dark brown. So that's really interesting. Hair type, straight hair. Well, my dad's hair was very curly back in the day, but mine is fairly straight. That's really good to see. Heart rate recovery, average. Good to see. Introvert or extrovert? That's partially incorrect. I'm more of an introvert. I always like to be indoors and things like that. And I don't really go out as much as I would normally would, but that's really interesting. Iris patterns for rose crypts and rings. No idea what any of that means, but that's really interesting. Male hair loss, genes for lower chance of hair loss, least likely. That's good. Morning or night person? Night. Now, that would actually make sense. I am more of a night person. That's really interesting to take note of. Muscles tire faster than average, likely to fatigue. I would say they would. I would probably agree on that. Omega-3 average levels, good. That's good. Oxygen use, above average. That's really good. Remembering dreams, likely to remember dreams. I'll tell you what, I think I may have got that spot on that one. Risk taking. I occasionally would take risks now and again. Skin pigmentation, DNA suggests a light to medium skin tone. Yeah, I'd probably agree on that. I would say the skin that I've got is actually fairly light. I do go on holiday a lot, which is more or less why you may have noticed me seem a little bit more tan than normal, but that's really interesting. Sun sneezing. I do sneeze quite a lot. I don't necessarily think it's something to do with the sun. I think it's something more to do with hay fever. Now, I do believe I may have got hay fever during like the higher pollen parts of the year, but that's really interesting. Sweet sensitivity. Extra sensitive? I wouldn't say I was extra sensitive to sweets. I like eating sweets a lot, if I'm honest with you. Taking naps. I'm not a nap taker. Now, I used to be a nap taker, but I'm not as much now. Tolerating dairy, likely to tolerate dairy. That is, I do tolerate dairy. That's really interesting. Umami sensitivity. Now, I don't think I've ever eaten umami, as far as I know. Unibrow, likely to have a unibrow. No. I definitely have only got the two brows as the whole thing goes there. So that's really interesting. Vitamin B12. Oh, that's a little bit concerning, but I guess. Vitamin C, average, that's good. Vitamin D, good. Vitamin E is good as well. Wisdom teeth. Unlikely to develop all 4 wisdom teeth. I think I actually did develop all 4, as far as I've been told. I think majority of them have been extracted now. But that's really interesting to take notes of. So that's really interesting there, guys. Let me know what you guys have some thoughts of this in the comments box down below. By parent. Ooh, that's really interesting. I'm going to have to do some more checks on these. I'm not exactly sure who's one side of the family, who's the other, but as you guys can see, you can see all my stats, if you will. So I've got a sort on my vitamin B12 there, guys, but that's really interesting. Fitness, heart rate recovery at average, muscle tire faster than average, likely to fatigue. Oxygen use above average ability. Okay. Sensory. I don't really drink as much alcohol, so I'm going to leave that to something else. But that's really interesting. Very, very interesting. Appearance. Okay. So as you guys can see, those are my stats. I'm keen to know what you guys, your stats will end up being. Let me know in the comments box down below if anything is similar to mine. So if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, let me know in the comments box down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so I upload, and I'll see you soon with another video here, guys. Until the next episode, peace out.